Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Heather. I'm a homeschooling mom of 3 kids. I help you implement systems and strategies in order to overcome the chaos and cultivate simplicity in your home and homeschool. Today, I'm going to be chatting all about my goals progress for the summer season as well as August. So let's get into it. Okay guys, so it seems like it's been a really long time since I've sat down and done a front-facing video. Yes, I've done a lot of vlogs over the past couple of months, but I don't feel like I've done all of that much sit down talking to the camera videos for you guys. And today's going to be a little bit different as far as my goals videos goes. Usually what I will do is I will go over the previous quarter and then plan for the next quarter, and the same thing with my August goals. I would review August and then plan out September. However, this month I thought it would be better if I went over the previous season as well as how August went, and then on Friday I will share my new quarterly goals and action plans as well as what I have for September. It just made a little bit more sense to me, but if you want me to go back to how I've always done it, please let me know in the comments. It won't offend me at all. I just thought that this kind of made sense since we're going into a new quarter, or I am, to kind of have a little bit of separation there. So first I'm going to go over my quarterly goals. And this has been a really interesting season for me. Coming into the summer season, I knew that I wanted to focus on rest, and I made a lot of adjustments to my schedule, to our home, so that I could focus on rest. And I have to say that it has actually been incredibly restful, and I'm happy about the progress that I made in taking time to step back. And it's interesting because it did take me a while to get into that rhythm of rest, and it's not something that comes easily to me. It's something that I had to work on. It was an active decision for me to rest, and that was a bit of a struggle. And then once I finally got into that rhythm of rest and we were thinking about starting back to homeschool, it was really hard to shift out of that rhythm of rest and get back into the normal schedule. So do I think that it was valuable? Absolutely. Are there some challenges when you take a season of rest and then step back into normal life? Absolutely. But it has been such an eye-opening experience, and it helped me really think about what I want out of my life. What are the things that are most important? This is stuff that I talk about all of the time. I'm always focusing on what is most important. What is most important to me? My relationship with God, my family, my kids, and just making sure that I keep that at the front of my mind is important. Even though I stress not being busy, there are seasons where we get super busy, and the spring season for me was incredibly busy. It was crazy, and even the winter season, coming out of a winter of a lot of sickness and then some home issues, I just needed to take the summer to rest, and it was so worth it. And it was hard, and it took a lot of prep time coming into the summer, especially because I stepped way back from my work stuff and tried to take not a sabbatical, because I was still in my community most days, but taking more time off, really adhering to my work hours. When you work for yourself and do what you love, it's very easy to work all of the time. I love what I do, but recognizing that I needed to take a little bit of a step back and rest some was also important. So highly recommend this summer of rest season. If you have the ability to plan a season of rest in your year, try it, because I think it brings a lot of clarity. And so now I'm going to go over what my goals for the summer season were. Some of them were goals that finished up in June. Some of them were just to continue rhythms and habits that I had already cultivated over the past year or multiple years. And I feel really good about all of the progress that I've made. So the first goal was related to my rhythms and systems goal, and that was to focus on already established restful rhythms. And so this was things like Sabbath rest on Sunday. It was taking a break in the afternoon to read. It was making sure that I continue my morning routine and evening routine, even though my evening routine is very basic. It is not this long routine of information the way my morning routine is, because I just don't have a lot of energy in the evenings, but just sticking to what we were going to do as a family, what I needed to do to close down the house at night. That was all really good. I did not implement anything new in this season for those rhythms and habits, and I thought that that was good. You don't always have to be adding new things. You can continue to maintain what you've already cultivated, and I think that that's important. The next two were related to my home goal, and the first was to prepare our home for impromptu entertaining, and I did do that. However, we were not at home a lot. Instead, we were going out to other people's homes. So it was kind of funny. I thought that we would do more barbecues and stuff here, but for weeks and weeks and weeks in the summer, it was raining every weekend. And then when it finally started to be sunny and hot, we were going to pools and not having people here. We don't have a pool, so it just made more sense. And so instead of having people here, we were going to other people's houses, but it was nice to just have my house kind of ready if we had people over. We did visit with my brother and sister-in-law a lot, and we had some other fun things that were happening. The kids had several visits with friends, and that was a lot of fun. And so having the house kind of prep for that was good. That was mainly getting our basement a little more organized after the flood, and also keeping our house kind of at the ready. The second part of my home goal was to prepare our car for easy outings, and that was making sure that I had like the pool bag all set, making sure we had snacks and food that was easy to grab and go so that we could go on a whim, if we were invited somewhere or if we decided to just get out of the house for the day. And I did complete that goal in June, and it was really easy for us to just get in the car and go when we wanted to do stuff during the week, and that's what I wanted. The next goal was part of my adventuring goals, and it just says adventure. And essentially what that meant was that I wanted to get out of the house every week, and that's not something that I necessarily always plan. And it wasn't like necessarily planning some big trip, but I wanted to do something fun, some sort of day trip, day excursion. And we have done that pretty much every week all summer long. And it has been so much fun for me and the kids to kind of experience new things together and explore our area and do some fun things that we always enjoy doing. And just getting out of the house and enjoying each other's company outside of our house. We are all very set in our rhythms and routines. We kind of all have a set schedule for the day that we follow automatically. And so breaking that up and just getting out of some of that was important to me, especially with Emma graduating in the spring. I wanted to spend more time doing fun things with her and not working all of the time, which is what I tend to default to because I enjoy it so much. So it was a lot of fun to do some of those excursions. And then with that was to take one weekend trip, not weekend like going away for a weekend, but doing something one weekend a month with my husband who works during the week. And so we did do that as well, and it was a lot of fun. I would like to do more of that, especially in the fall. I'm hoping to continue the weekly adventures, at least until it gets a little too cold for us to be gallivanting out and about or snows on the ground or whatnot. There are still opportunities in Maine. You can live in every season depending on the gear that you have, but the past couple of winters in Maine have not been great as far as outside fun things to do. Like the ice skating is not great, the snowmobiling hasn't been great because we haven't had a ton of snow. Anyways, so hopefully it will be a good winter coming so that we can continue to do some of those fun outings. But I really feel good about this goal, and it's something that I've wanted to spend more time doing. It's not that I don't want people to think that we just don't do anything, but it's very easy for us to just stay in our same rhythm and not break out of that rhythm very much and go to all of the same places and not really branch out. But we did this summer and it was a lot of fun. Then the next goal was to prep and start the 2025-2026 homeschool year, and I did do that. I think that I was semi-successful. Yes, we started homeschool on time. However, I did not feel as ready stepping into this homeschool year as I normally do. And I've been homeschooling for, since 2012, I guess, is when I would say we really were full in on homeschooling. And I think that part of it is because Emma has graduated. And so the dynamic in our home is just different. She is still at home and she's still working on her book and doing other things, but it's just a little bit different because I've been for, I don't know, 6, 7 years now. I do history with Jack and Emma and a lot of English with Jack and Emma. There's a lot of crossover, and this year it's just different. And so it was really hard for me at the end of July and the beginning of August to prep and plan for homeschool, because at that point I was all in on my rest rhythm and that rest theme for the summer, and I just didn't want to climb out of it. We were having super hot days in Maine. It's it's so funny because at the beginning of the summer it was raining every single weekend, and now we're in a drought. It's very bizarre. But I was just leaning into reading and walks with the kids and time outside and not focused on planning homeschool. And I have a lot of vlogs leading up to our first day of homeschool, and you can see that things are getting much better. We're almost through an entire month at this point, and things are much better and we're falling back into rhythm. But those first couple of weeks were a little bit of a struggle, and I was concerned that we were going to have more issues, but it was fine. The next goal was also focused on my rhythms and systems goal, and that was to have easy grab and go snacks and meals. And I kind of talked about this on the Prepare Car for Easy Outings. I just wanted to focus more on food prep and getting ready for the week so that I'm not spending as much time making food. I spend an enormous amount of time making food, and I do love to cook, but I don't know, over the past 5 years, things have become so monotonous and it's just not as enjoyable as it used to be. And I don't know why that is. My kids do pitch in and they make a lot of their own meals and stuff, but I just needed to spend more time preparing at the beginning of the week, making protein and like beans and rice and stuff so that it was at the ready to grab and throw a meal together instead of making a new meal at night, in the afternoon because I've forgotten to do something in the morning or whatever it is. I feel like I did a pretty good job with that, but there are also some other changes that I want to make, and that will continue through the fall season, just how I'm doing my food prep. And I kind of think I want to do a little bit more with like freezer meals and stuff so that it's a little easier for me to just grab something and put it in the crock pot, because I think I just need to have like a food prep day once every couple of weeks and then just get everything ready for a couple of weeks. Not everything, but the majority of things. That's something that I'm going to explore more. I do have the new freezer cooking recipe box from Passionate Penny Pincher with pictures on it and all of the instructions. And so I want to go through that. I actually bought it, I think, around maybe Christmas, and I haven't opened it and gone through it. And it is something that I want to look at so that I can start planning ahead of time. Part of it is because my husband and my 2 teens eat a lot, and I need to like double recipes and then quadruple recipes if I want to actually have leftovers or something for the freezer for later. So I need to kind of adjust recipes for our needs, but I'm excited to continue working on that in the fall. And then the last quarterly goal that I had was to continue to prioritize the wellness rhythms and habits I've developed this year. And I have been doing that. That is partially health related, like exercise and diet and doctor's appointments and all of that stuff, but it's also about doing the things that fill me up and give me joy, like reading. I've started knitting again, a little bit of knitting, thinking about memory keeping, that kind of stuff. It's kind of like an overall wellness goal and not just health, but I felt really good about the progress that I've made. I've been walking most days, and that has been really good. I am taking my supplements, I'm going to all of my doctor's appointments, I'm doing my health tracking, and then I'm also taking time to read and to fill myself up. I've done a lot with commonplacing over the past several months, which, if you don't know, commonplacing is kind of a way to take notes, I guess I would say. If you are taking in some sort of media, usually it's books, but it can be podcasts or music or YouTube videos or movies or whatever it is, and you're writing quotes. That's kind of what commonplacing is. I take it a step further and I interpret the information that I'm consuming into actionable steps for me, or things that I want to remember in the future, or that help me create new rhythms and systems. It's not just all nonfiction reading, it's also fiction reading, and anything that is interesting that I want to remember for the future, I will write that down. That's something that I hope to explore with you guys. I think I maybe mentioned this a couple of months ago, but it is something that I want to explore with you guys maybe later in the fall. I'm not quite at the point where I feel like I can add a whole lot to the conversation because I'm still pretty new to it, even though it's something that I have done for a very long time. I never had a name for it, and so I'm trying to figure out a way to index things so that it's easily accessible, and it's just something that I still need to work on. But I feel really good about this goal, and I'm hoping that it continues. The summer and fall are usually easy times for me to be exercising, getting out for walks, because the weather is so beautiful in Maine. Where I tend to struggle is after Christmas, in the start of the new year. We often will have sicknesses in our house, or I'm just unmotivated because it is so cold and dark. And so I'm trying to think of strategies ahead of time to make me continue the habits that I've built. And I'm kind of hoping also that just because I've been so consistent with these habits, that if I'm continuing through the fall with these habits, they will stay relatively automatic in the winter. But that is something that I'm kind of planning for 2026. So those are all of my quarterly goals, and I do feel really good about things. I was not working on like huge projects this summer. Again, my focus was on rest and just refreshing my mind, renewing my mind and spirit, and taking time to just be with my kids instead of working all the time or trying to declutter or manage the home or clean. I wanted to mainly focus on the fun and relaxation of summer, especially since Emma graduated in the spring, and I feel like I was pretty successful in that. So that was my quarter. And obviously my seasons are a little bit different. If you are new, welcome. I didn't even explain this at the start of the video. My first quarter of the year is January through March. My spring season is April and May, and that kind of coincides with the end of our homeschool year. June, July, and August are the summer months, and then September through November are the fall months, and December is kind of its own thing. I don't really set new goals in December. I'm more trying to maintain habits and systems, as well as focusing on planning for the new year, which I'm really excited about some of the new Power Sheets covers that have come out. I also have the Navy Blooms. I've done a full review and walkthrough of the new 2026 Power Sheets, as well as all of their season by season and fresh start goal planners. I will leave all of that stuff linked in the description box. It seems so early to be thinking about 2026, but when I was looking back on all of my videos for goal setting in preparation for this video, I usually start making notes about the new year and projects or goals that I want to work on, but I know I won't have time for in the current year. I usually start that in August. I haven't this year, and even my quarterly goals for the fall, I haven't really thought too much about it. I do have a few ideas, which you will know on Friday once I flesh all of that stuff out, but I am starting to get a little excited about 2026 and some of the changes that I know that I want to continue to make, and kind of the incremental steps that I have to take in order to get to that point. I'm hoping to do that over the fall so that I'm more ready for 2026, but lots of fun stuff to come for the 2026 Power Sheets. if you are looking for more help and encouragement for your home and goals and homeschool, please come check out my membership community. That link is always in the description box. In December, we go through setting up our goals for the new year, and I have live streams every week, live stream co-working sessions where we use a Pomodoro technique to focus on a project or goal or planning or hobby or something that we don't necessarily take time for in our day-to-day. It's a really great time, and we have a wonderful group of women. I would love to see you over there. Now for the August goals progress. I feel really good about August overall. My theme for the month was back to homeschool. We did start back to homeschool in August, and like I said earlier, it has been good. It was a little bit rough at the start. I will have my homeschool update up for our first term pretty soon. We do a 6 weeks on, 1 week off schedule, and our first session was a little bit shorter than the 6 weeks, and there are some changes, which is not something that I normally do. And I'm not 100% sure on the changes yet, but I do have some ideas on a couple of things. So, but overall, I do feel good about getting back to homeschool. We are back into a rhythm. We're getting things done that we need to, and so I feel really good about that. So my first monthly action item was Jack's birthday. He had his birthday at the beginning of August, and we celebrated that, and we went to Funtown, which is a little local theme park in our state, and we had a lot of fun. We spent the day out doing all of the fun birthday things, and it was a lot of fun. We had a good time. The next thing was back to homeschool, and that was to kind of fall back into our rhythm and do our slow start, which we have been doing right along this month. I think by the middle of September, we will be in all of our subjects and everything will be running smoothly. At least that's my hope. The next 4 goals were related to my rhythms and systems goal. And the first was to make progress on the organized life trio. And that is something that I purchased months ago from the Passionate Penny Pincher. It is an address book, a perpetual calendar, and a password book. And I just wanted to make progress. I had put it on my goals, I think in June and in July, and didn't make any progress. And then finally in August, I did. I actually used a couple of our live stream co-working sessions to work specifically on that. I'm trying to get a lot of data and stuff just in one place so that it's accessible for my husband if he needs it for anything, and make it a little bit easier to find. Also, I really like the idea of the perpetual calendar, and perpetual calendars that I've seen in the past have only had like 1 line for each day, and this has more like 4 or 5 lines for each day, and it just made a little bit more sense to me to have it that way, and I really, really like those little books. Now, here's the caveat. They are coming out with a new organized life trio, and it is all in the cream and gold foiling, and the cream color background and the gold foiling, and in my mind, that is what I want. I want that. Even though I already have these other books, I really want those cream ones. I'm not going to purchase them. The ones that I have are no longer in stock. I think they all sold out. So these cream ones, if that is something that you want, they ordered a certain amount, and once those are gone, the product will be gone. Really, really like them. I like that the passwords are alphabetical. I never really considered that, but that seems very smart to have them alphabetical so you can actually find things. So really pleased with the progress that I made there. A little disappointed that they're coming out with these cream and gold foil books for, I think it's in October maybe is when they're coming out. I don't know. It might be when they have their home planner launch on September 7th. I will check and I'll leave a link for you. The next thing was to move into my planners, and I have done that somewhat. I spent the entire summer going through all of the planners that I've purchased or been sent over the past, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months, and did plan with me's each week, trying to figure out what planning system I wanted for the new year. And I've been using an academic year planner July through June since 2014, because I run our homeschool year July through June, and it just made sense to me. However, over the past couple of years, I would say, I've felt this pull to change my planning system and to try some different products. I've been using Erin Condren again since 2013, 2014, and I knew that I wanted something a little bit different, or I wanted to try some different things to see if the EC system that I've been using is what I want to continue using. And I think I've decided on some changes, but because of that, I am going to be using calendar year planners starting in 2026. And so I'm trying to compile what I may want, and I'm trying to narrow things down. I'm trying to simplify things and be really intentional about my choices. I love planning. My planning is not necessarily memory keeping or hobby-based planning. It is much more functional, and it helps me to keep things straight with all of the plates that I have in the air. I need to have a good functional system, and I've just felt like I needed a little bit of a change. And I think, again, that part of that is because Emma was graduating, and so I have made some changes, and I've talked about them in a lot of my Plan With Me's recently, so I will leave that playlist linked for you. So I did give myself full credit for it. I have not moved into planners the way that I would typically move into planners, but I have all of the things compiled that I want to keep in my planner so that I can do that in December when I'm setting up all of my new planners for 2026. The next thing was my monthly reset day, which was on August 28th, and I gave myself full credit for that. And then the last thing was to plan and prep for my 13th week / quarterly refresh, and I have done that, and so I gave myself full credit for that. And that is going to be next week. In fact, it will be in progress when this video goes live. So I'm crossing my fingers that I will have all of my quarterly refresh stuff done for Friday's video for my fall quarterly goals as well as my September goals. I am filming this a little bit early as far as my 13th week goes. My first theme day is reflect, and I do spend a good amount of time reflecting on my previous season of goals. However, it's not just goal related. It is goal related, but it's a lot more in depth. It's a lot more journaling. It kind of encompasses all facets of my life, all of the different areas that I want to focus on. So even though I'm going over my goals progress here, I will still do more reflection of my entire season as a whole on that reflect theme day. Okay, and then my weekly rhythms. So the first was relating to my rhythms and systems goal, and that was weekly planning, and I've done that every week. I'm back into, I've been doing planning all summer. The weekly Plan With Me is and daily Plan With Me is for my YouTube channel, but I have finally gotten into a good rhythm of being back to planning weekly. I don't need to plan as much in the summer as I do once fall starts, and August was kind of that transition month, and so I'm feeling good about that. The next thing was homeschool planning. That's relating to my homeschool / passion project goal, and I've done that every week, which is good because we started school in August and I needed to do that planning. It wasn't always just weekly planning because I didn't actually plan out our first homeschool week as far as lessons go. That was an introduction week to all the materials we'll be using this year, but I was planning and prepping right along every week. Then the next thing was food prep, which I've been doing weekly, and that has been going really well. Trying to do something like I've been getting my groceries on Monday and then doing food prep on Monday as well. However, once we started homeschool, I realized that I'm going to need to adjust when I'm doing those things because Monday is typically my Monday reset day, but it's also our Monday meeting for homeschool, and it's a pretty heavy homeschool day. So I don't have as much time in the morning to do all of that stuff that I had been doing over the summer and got into a really good rhythm with. So I need to figure out how I'm going to do that, because the reason I have a Monday reset is because I'm practicing a Sabbath rest on Sunday. And so I'm trying not to be working or doing things on Sunday, and that makes it a little more challenging to get ready for Monday. And so I'm kind of thinking I want to have a full 24 hours of just rest. So I think that what I maybe need to do is start it Saturday evening and go through Sunday evening, or start Saturday afternoon and go through Sunday afternoon, so that I have the evening to do my planning and get ready for the week. I don't know. We'll see. I kind of have to think about that because I have been doing a Monday reset for years, but it seems like it's a little too tight on time now. And I don't know if that's because Lucy's in 5th grade, and so it's a lot more work for me with her each day. It's not as easy as 4th and under, where we were done in an hour and a half. It's much more most of the morning, like probably 3 hours or so, and then Jack has about 6 hours of work. Half of it I try to be pretty involved with. So the timing and the schedule, it's just something that I have to work on. But that was a lot of extra. The food prep has been going well, but I know that I'm going to need to make some changes as we move into the fall months. The next thing was weekly outings with the kids, which I've done every week. I feel really good about that. Then the next thing was kind of a new rhythm that I started, I think in July, and that was to explore AI. And I have really enjoyed exploring AI over the past year. I think it was maybe the fall of 2024 that I started to use it more, and I mainly use it for finding recipes or creating meal plans or helping me make decisions that I just can't think about in the moment. It seems silly, but sometimes it really helps. It's been a lot of fun. I'm also trying to explore some other systems that use AI for like digital note-taking and building a second brain, which is a book that I read earlier in the summer by Tiago Forte. Highly recommend it. It's really interesting how he connects David Allen's getting things done with his digital second brain. I'm not a digital planner and I don't keep a lot of digital information. That's not entirely true. I do, but it's I do a lot of analog. I do a lot of paper planning and note-taking on notebooks and stuff because that's what I like. But figuring out how to index things and find things in the future is a little bit more challenging when you do all paper-based stuff. So it's been really fun to explore AI, and it's not something that I necessarily take a lot of time for. But it's something fun and new that doesn't really relate to anything else that I'm doing. It's more just for fun. So I've really enjoyed that. And then the last thing I did much better in July was to add weights in for my health and wellness. And I did it one time. My goal was to do it twice a week. Well, my real goal was to do it 3 times a week, but I put twice a week on my weekly rhythms. I made a little box, like I separated it so I could check off. If I did it once a week, at least I would get 1 check. I only did it once. And I think part of it was because we were doing a lot of fun stuff. We were really busy at the beginning of August. And so I just didn't do it at all. And then I did it once, like the 3rd week in August. And then the 4th week, I haven't done it at all. I might this weekend and get 1 check, but honestly, I have to figure that out because it is something that I think is important and I've talked to my doctor about, and we want to incorporate some more stuff. 40s, that's what women do in their 40s, right? It's all you hear right now. More protein and lifting as heavy as you can and lots of walks. So we'll see. It is something that I have to figure out. I just don't know when to do it. It doesn't take long, and I'm using, dumbbells that I have at my house, but just figuring out a time to do it, it's hard. It's similar to like yoga. I love to do yoga. It doesn't take long to do yoga. I can do it in my pajamas. I don't have to have any special equipment or anything like that. But finding 20 to 30 minutes to do a yoga practice is challenging. I don't know why. So anyways, those were my weekly rhythms. I've done pretty well, except for the weights. That was the only one that I struggled with. For my daily habits, the first is relating to my rhythms and systems goal, which is my AM routine. I wanted to get back into a good AM routine because I kind of fallen out of it. I was spending more time sleeping in the morning, not necessarily sleeping in because I always wake up early, but just I wasn't doing my normal extensive morning routine, I guess is what I would say. I was still doing tier 1, but I wasn't doing tier 2, which is more guided journals and nonfiction reading. And I definitely wasn't doing tier 3, which was memory keeping. I'm still not really good at tier 3. I've not been consistent at all, except for my 1 line a day, which is also a separate item on my daily habits list. But I did start doing more nonfiction reading in the morning again with the commonplacing. I haven't been as good about it in August as I was in June and July. So it is something that I need to continue working on, but I have been consistent with at least my extra Bible study in the morning, and so I'm pleased with that. The next habits are all related to my health and wellness goal. The first is to walk every day, and I have done it all but 7 days. So I've walked every day except for about 7 days, so I feel really good about that. 3/4 of the days I've walked. The next thing is health tracking, and I use an N1 monthly booklet from Sterling Inc. for my health tracking. I got that a little bit into 2025, I think maybe March, April I got it, and it has been so useful for me to have that to write down all of my symptoms and track my symptoms and track my weight in the yearly tracker, write down my sleep and any symptoms in the monthly calendar section, as well as have, those notes pages in the back where I can write notes that I want to address with my doctor. It's been super helpful. I can't wait to get all of the new Sterling Inc. stuff. Their launch, I believe, is September 5th. So this Friday is their launch, and I will definitely be getting that for health tracking again. If you want something to help you with one specific goal, I really, really recommend one of those monthly booklets from Sterling Inc. They are tiny. She has a bunch of different sizes. I just happen to like the N1 size, which, let me see. So this is my N1 monthly booklet, and it has, let me find some pages that don't have stuff on them. So it has quarterly tracking sections, it has monthly calendar sections here, and then it has some notes pages in the back, and they are grid. So it's very, very good for health tracking. I've enjoyed using it a lot, and I will definitely be using that in 2026. The next thing, speaking of yoga, is yoga and stretching. I put yoga and stretching so that if I did either of those things, I would get a check mark. And I did really good at the start of the month, and then not so great in the middle of the month, better towards the end of the month, and then stopped. And part of it is because my body has felt better. And so when I feel good, I don't think to do the stretching. It's not a habit in that I just do stretching every day. In June and July, I was really focusing on my shoulder blades and my shoulders and neck. I had a lot of pain and stiffness, and so I was doing a lot of stretching. And then my right hip, I was having a lot of problems, so I was doing a lot of stretching for that as well. But when I started to feel better, I just didn't do the stretching. When I don't feel good, I do the stretching. So I think that I would like to do more of the stretching and yoga. I think once it gets to fall, it'll be a little bit easier for Emma and I to do yoga in the evenings. We're not morning yoga people, we're evening yoga people. And then there are some targeted practices that Yoga with Adrienne has. She has over 10 years of practices, I think, on her YouTube channel. Highly recommend her. She is amazing and really, really like her practices. So I've done okay. I think that we could be doing better. I didn't necessarily want to be doing it every day, but I probably should be stretching every day. So that's something that I want to continue as we move through the fall. The next thing is my 1 line a day. And this is something that I started doing years ago in like a pocket planner from Erin Condren. And I was not very successful with the pocket planner. And then I transferred it to my life planner, my Erin Condren life planner. On one of their monthly dashboard pages, I would write one positive thought each day, and that was really good. And I've been doing that consistently, I think since May of 2023 or May of 2024. It might be 2024. And so I feel really good about that, and I've done that every day. That's the easiest memory keeping thing that I can be doing at the moment, so I'm continuing to do that. Commonplacing was the next habit, and I'm not expecting to do commonplacing every day. I just wanted to keep track of when I'm doing it, and I've only done it 3-4 days this month. So I pretty much didn't do it at all for the first 3 weeks of the month because I was so focused on homeschool and getting ready for school and Jack's birthday and VBS, and my nieces and nephew were here, and I just did not have time to sit down and do my commonplacing, which was kind of sad because I'm really enjoying it. So I need to get back into a better rhythm in the morning of doing that again as I'm continuing to work on my fall morning routine. And then the last daily habit that I had was to read every day. And I have done this all except a few days this month. And in previous months, it has been read in the afternoon, or it's been read fiction. And then this month I said, just read something. I just wanted to read something. I had a book goal this year of 150 books, which usually is something that I can hit relatively easily. And I think that I've read maybe, I don't know, probably around 75 books. My Goodreads is off. I haven't logged books, and there are a lot of books that I've read this summer that I haven't put in my book journal yet. I just have not utilized my book journal this summer that much, which is not great. I really want to get back into that. And so I've forgotten some of the books that I've read. I need to kind of go back through my Kindle and see if I can find out which books I've taken from Kindle Unlimited and like go through Audible, but I also share Audible with Emma, and so it messes up what books I've read. I don't know. Anyways, so there have been a few days that I have not been reading, but for the most part I have. I just don't know the books that I've finished. There we go. So that is all of my Q3 and August goals shared with you guys. It's been a really good season. Like I said at the start of the video, this season of rest, I really needed it. We had a really tough winter of a lot of sickness, and then the flood in our basement, and then the spring was so incredibly busy with so many doctor's appointments for Lucy and me and Emma. It was just crazy. And then by the time summer came, I was in that burnout mode because there was so much stuff on my plate, and just taking the time to step back and rest and focus on the most important things was incredibly helpful. So highly recommend it. I'm really excited to be sharing more about rest and intentional living as we move into the fall. I'm going to be starting a series on revisiting slow living. This is something that I wrote about on my website back in 2017, the skill of slow living, and how it's not something that you fall into. It's not something that's easy to do. It's something that you have to be really intentional about, because there are so many distractions and things vying for your attention, and making those intentional choices, those active intentional choices, is challenging sometimes because you just feel like you're constantly having to make decisions, and that causes decision fatigue. So I'm excited to kind of revisit some of that. It's something that I've thought a lot about over the past few months, and so I'm excited to share that with you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Again, if you are looking for more help and encouragement around home and homeschool and goals, come check out my membership community. So thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you Friday with my fall goals and September goals. Thanks guys. Bye.